From the Sunflower Shop, this is the Healthy Approach Podcast. I'm Bryan Bradford. Hello and welcome. How many of you think cancer is the #1 killer in the United States? You may think this is true because you hear about cancer all the time, but the real answer is cardiovascular disease. And get this, it's been the #1 killer since 1920. So what I want to know is, are you doing enough to protect your heart? Many of you are already taking a fish oil, but do you know where it comes from, how they process it, the quality of it? How much should you even take? To answer these questions and more, I have invited a certified nutritionist, Karla Schmidt, from one of the most popular fish oil companies we carry, Nordic Naturals. Karla has worked as a researcher, a writer, a dietary supplement specialist, and is a gifted public speaker. She has a bachelor's degree in food and nutrition and has been in this industry for over 30 years, which is 5 years more than me, so that makes her the expert. Welcome to the show, Karla.
Thank you so much for having me, Bryan. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, thanks so much for taking time out today for this, because I really want to help people understand more about fish oils. So why don't we begin with what are the main benefits of fish oil and the reasons why people should even take a fish oil supplement?
Perfect place to start. And if you don't mind, I will segue back to that question. But I think it's important for people to first understand why we take fish oil in terms of what it actually provides. And so fish oil or algal oil, which is great for vegans and vegetarians, is rich in two very profound, important fats known as omega-3 fats. They are EPA and DHA. And what most people don't realize is that these fats have very vital roles in the structure and function of every single cell in the body. We're talking 60 to 100 trillion cells in the body, 100 billion of them in our brains alone depend upon these really important fats to function optimally and have great structural capabilities. So when you say, why would people take them? Head to toe benefit, of course. However, the real areas that perhaps a practitioner or a nutritionist may recommend their patient or a customer coming in to purchase fish oil tend to be prenatal and infancy, heart health, which I know you're bringing forward today, brain health, eye health, as well as joint comes into play, and we talk about immunity as well. So the need to take these is vital. In fact, when our team educated on this over 4 years ago, we could state that 91% of Americans were not getting enough of these omega-3 fats on a daily basis. And now it's up to 95%, which is why we spend our world 95%. That's the newer data that came out. So understandably, a lot of individuals are not lovers of fish. So, especially in America, we're not great fish consumers, or we're concerned about perhaps some contaminants that may be available in the fish. So we're very low consumers of these important cold water oily fish fats. Additionally, we consume a diet, that good old standard American Western diet, that is highly processed, loaded with oils like soybean oil, corn oil, safflower oil. And we tend to have a really high level of omega-6 fats when we measure red blood cells versus 3s. And those two are always competing for space in that sacred space, the cell membrane. So I encourage people to bring down their omega-6 levels. They can research what foods are high in it. But in order for us to benefit from these health areas that we can improve, we need to really pay attention to getting our 3s up and bringing down our 6s.
The American diet really just gets too much of that omega-6, and that's why there's more of important stress on getting more omega-3s from different sources.
Correct. Yeah, and preferably direct sources. Since you've brought up sources, may I touch on that?
Please.
Wonderful. Many people are confused about how to get omega-3s. And very often they'll try and get them from plant-based sources like flax, chia, leafy greens. And there's nothing wrong with those nutrient sources. However, they're not preformed or direct sources of EPA and DHA. And therefore, the body has to ingest it and convert it into those long-chain fatty acids that we're looking for. The plant-based are actually what we call the parent form. And so there are 20 long conversion steps to go from a plant-based into the long-chain omega-3s. And we tend to only convert, based on the research, 1 to 5%.
1 to 5%.
We're always 1 to 5. Yeah.
Wow.
And women, unfortunately, are even lower. They tend to land at the 2 to 2.5% conversion rate. So I love visuals. I need to get my head around something. If you were to take 1,000 milligrams of fish oil, to get a comparable dose in those plant-based sources, you would need to consume a 10-ounce bag of flax or chia.
Wow.
In order for your body to convert it to that 1,000.
So fish oil really is a better absorbed source than a plant-based for most people, it sounds like.
Yeah, and it is the direct source. So the body doesn't have to convert anything. It's the preformed source that the body's looking for. So we're always recommending people to learn this and invest in fish oil to get the direct source, or algae if they're vegan or vegetarian.
That's right. So just curious, a lot of people always ask us this question in the store. How much fish does someone have to eat to get sufficient amount levels of omega-3s?
That's a great question, because we're not trying to discourage people from consuming wild-caught, sustainable fish. If we go to salmon, for example, it'll depend upon the season and the region of where the salmon is coming from, but on average, a 3-ounce piece can have approximately 600 to about 1,000 milligrams of omega-3s available. And of course, if you look at the U.S. dietary guidelines, they recommend fish 3 times a week. Obviously at Nordic, we like people to get it more on a daily basis, but so many Americans don't even come close to 1 time a week. So it's a much more viable way of assuring that you're getting these fats every day when you're taking a quality supplement. You can assure that you're getting the levels.
That's right. That's a great answer for that. We need to eat more fish, but supplementation is becoming even more important these days with all our health issues. So let's talk about the true benefits of omega-3. What's it really doing for the body?
Yes. I think I would like to segue then to the research, because there are key areas where we can take the research and plop it into these beautiful health benefiting buckets. But I first need to let you know that omega-3 fats are the most researched nutrient in modern science. For over 30 years, it has accumulated to a level of 38,000 studies. That's pretty substantial.
It's a lot.
And of that, it's a tremendous amount of science. And within that, 4,000 of those studies are the randomized controlled trials, which are really the gold standard. I call them the grand poobah of research that we look to make sure it's valid science. So within that, we find that there are these areas that consistently show positive outcomes. We have brain health, heart health, joint health, prenatal and infancy, and the eyes. And if you like, I can break out each of those areas a little bit for you to understand how the omegas are benefiting those organs,
Karla, that'd be
and
great.
body systems. Wonderful. So let's start at the early part, try and take it across the life stages a bit. Pregnancy and infancy, if there is one time a woman, of course, were to say, I don't want to take omegas my whole life, but when should I absolutely consume them, it would be during pregnancy. If we think of the development of this fetus in utero, DHA, which is one of the 2 omega-3 fats, is vitally important to the development of the brain and the visual development, specifically the retina of the eye. Most people don't know that our brains are 60% fat. So when people were doing that fat-free craze, when I was in private practice, I was like, no, please, especially if you have children, don't do that to them. because that is what our brains are made of. But half of the fat in our brains is DHA. And when a fetus is developing in womb, 6 layers of DHA is laid down on each hemisphere of the brain, our cerebral cortex. So, bearing that in mind, a lot of this takes place, especially during that last trimester. In fact, there's an 850 time increase in accumulated DHA from mom to baby. So let's bear in mind how many people are deficient. If mom's starting that pregnancy deficient and isn't supplementing throughout pregnancy, then the ability for this fetus's brain to fully develop optimally, as well as the retina of the eyes, where we get to see variance in light, can be really jeopardized. And the research supports that moms who have supplemented during pregnancy birth children better birth weight, less incidence of preterm birth, and then that developing child has higher reading scores, less behavioral issues, better attention, better focus, and when they follow these children through adulthood, it remains consistent. So that's a critical time. Let's step into the brain for all people now in terms of brain health and omegas. Obviously, that period of life up until birth and really through age 2, very important. From 0 to 2, there's 100 million new neuronal connections formed every second in the brain. It's just, can't even get your head around it, right? It's alarming almost. But that is why the brain doubles in size in those 2 years. So supplementing a child with a formula, preferably higher in DHA to EPA, to support that really accelerated growth rate is important. Up to about the age 6, the brain is still really developing. By the time a child is 6, about 90% of that brain is formed. So we always want to make sure they're still focusing on supporting that. What I'm really describing to you, and I wish I could do it in a shorter way for you, is we need these fats for our brain across all life stages, from start to aging adult.
That's great information. I mean, it shows you how important it is for brain health. I mean, because from birth to even adults, if we're not consuming enough omega-3s in our diets, you're right, this breakdown at the cellular level can just lead to so many different problems out there. I mean, focus.
Yes,
I mean, you talk
absolutely.
about focus for kids. That how many kids probably just needs more omega-3 or DHA for the brain health? It's just amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you, if any of your customers or listeners are interested, there's so much valid research out there about the benefits of the mom supplementing during pregnancy for the sake of that lifelong brain health, but also when children supplement. So let's say it was missed then. You can catch up and you can really improve their opportunity for optimal brain function and cognition. It's really wonderful. There's so much research.
And Karla, in that research, is there any research on therapeutic dosaging or doses, how much we really should be taking?
Sure, and you mean across all body systems?
Yeah, say all body
not
systems.
necessarily brain?
That's right.
It's a great question, and one we get all the time. If we could only step in and say, here's the dose to take, I will tell you that the more positive outcomes with respect to whether it's brain, eye, heart, joint, immune, land within a higher dose. I would say the sweet spot in that research for positive health outcomes, consistent, is between 1,000 and 3,000 milligrams per day, if you were to just average it out. But I can also share some data that may help your listeners in terms of understanding why 500 milligrams a day, which by leading lipidologists is considered that maintenance dose, is like this massive, not even massive, excuse me, it's a tiny drop in this vast ocean of our deficiency. So that's not going to really move the needle on a health outcome. However, the American Heart Association states that 1,000 milligrams a day is a safe, responsible dose for someone who perhaps is struggling with a condition state related to their heart, or even if they're not, if someone in their family has a history, then that is adult dose that is suggested by them. But they go a step further, and this is what I really appreciate, because we know that omega-3 fats with respect to heart health have been found to normalize blood pressure and also work to normalize triglyceride levels. They have a lovely impact at lowering these. So the American Heart Association gave us a nice therapeutic statement we can share with people, because as you know, in our industry, we can't diagnose, prognose, or say you should take.
That's right.
But they state, and the research supports this, 2,000 milligrams, which is considered somewhat therapeutic for the reduction of blood pressure. And then they go a step further. 2,000 to 4,000 milligrams a day appears to be the therapeutic dose for reducing triglyceride levels. And at that dose, the research shows a 20 to 40% reduction rate. So you can see this alignment with higher dose, better outcomes. And I'll throw in one more for you, because this is my favorite. The FDA has not always been our best buddy in the natural products industry, but they play a very important, yes, of course. Well, they do play a very important role because a lot of our customers still want to hear from them. I feel that they've given us a golden ticket with respect to dose. And this can be found on their website. They state that 3,000 milligrams a day is a safe, responsible dose for any adult looking to shift a health outcome. So basically,
Wow.
that's a lot of customers walking in your store or listening to us today. And I feel that that gives people a level of comfort that this is not a drug, it's a natural substance.
Yeah, I work with a lot of doctors in our area here, and I know a few cardiologists personally who are using those higher dosaging for fish oils and seeing great outcomes with. So I know that the studies are backing that up now, which is wonderful. We just need more of it.
Yes,
Because there's still
we
so much
do.
junk on the internet showing that fish oils do nothing for the body, and it's with, like you said, what, 38,000 articles out there now on research. There's plenty of research
Yes.
showing this, and more people need to be aware of it. But not all fish oils are created equal, right? So we need to talk about the
Oh,
quality
so
of
true.
fish oils. You know, everybody goes to the big
Okay.
box stores and buy a fish oil for $5, getting 500 capsules and say, okay, I'm taking my fish oil. Is that this? Why are you charging so much in your store? Let's talk about the quality of it. So how does someone go about
Thank you.
choosing a good quality fish oil?
They need to educate themselves on what makes a good quality fish oil. There is a world of difference in quality, as you've just indicated. And for lack of a better term, if there's one supplement you don't want to cheap out on, it's fish oil. Because so
Exactly.
much goes into the manufacturing and the protecting of these oils. So first and foremost, this comes as a surprise still to individuals. A fish oil should never smell fishy, never taste fishy, or give you burps that you feel this fishy smell or taste coming from. What that means is that it's a poor quality fish oil that hasn't been protected from oxidation, and therefore it's breaking down, hence why it smells, tastes bad. And I always remind individuals, think about fresh fish. If you put some fish in the fridge and 2 to 3 days later you went to cook it and it smelled fishy, would you eat it or would you throw it out? And inevitably everyone throws it out.
Throw it
But
out.
why they don't do that with fish oil, I don't know.
Great point.
So to that, we at Nordic, which is obviously the premier line in the US in terms of quality, and we've been doing it for 25 years, you have to protect these oils. And the way you do that is by getting your hands on every step of the process. So with Nordic, we don't job out the manufacturing or the bottling and encapsulating or the shipping of this product. We control it so that we can test it all along the way and make sure that these oils are protected from oxidation, impurities. But other manufacturers want in on the omega space. And so therefore they may do one aspect of it, but they could job it out to other independent contractors, which jeopardizes the integrity of the oil. So you have to protect these oils by removing oxygen at every single phase, from that fish coming onto the boat, from the boat to manufacturing where we purify and distill, when it's being concentrated, when it is being, the oil is having the seal of the gel coming over, it's being poured into the bottle. Oxygen needs to be present at all times, not present at all times. And we do that with a very a strongly patented process that blankets everything in nitrogen. So I could go on details about that, but that is the goal. And I can tell you all day long what Nordic Naturals does. Our core competency and reputation lies in omega-3s for the last 25 years. And we have raised this bar of quality. But I could tell you that all day. The proof is in our transparency. So if I'm looking to purchase a fish oil from a company, I'm going to ask, do you provide a third-party independent test that shows me that what you're stating about your product is true, and that I can actually get a printout or an immediate digital copy of that by just plopping in my lot number online? That, to me, is what needs to happen. And there's very few companies that do that. At Nordic, we do. It's immediately accessible. Every product has a lot number at the bottom, and that individual can go on our website to Certificate of Analysis, and boom, they see their product's third-party analysis for dose efficacy, microbial levels, oxidation levels, mercury, all of the things.
And another big difference that's out there, Karla, is the form of the fish oil itself. And the big forms that most people hear about is triglyceride form or ethyl ester. Could you sort of help identify which one's best and why?
Sure, absolutely. And this is generally a long story. I'm trying to do my best to get that aisle talk going for the sake of everyone. But I must warn you, as educators, we get a little lengthy on this one.
That's right.
The short answer is all fats, whether they be from fish or from fish oil, non-concentrated fish oil, are in a form called triglycerides. That is the most basic structure of a fat. It has 3 fatty acid tails and a glycerol backbone. We call it the flagpole. So for hundreds of years, our bodies knows how to ingest fat. Let's say we're consuming salmon. We break apart that triglyceride naturally with lipase, which is our enzyme that breaks it apart. And then what do you know? Because metabolism is always the breakdown and the buildup, our bodies naturally rebuild that flagpole again and ship it off to cells to do the work. Our health improvement is what we're after, our outcomes. So the conversation of triglyceride versus ethyl ester comes into play when we're talking about a product that's been concentrated. Many customers, I'm sure you hear this all the time, they want to take a bigger dose in a smaller serving. So we're always trying to satisfy that. For example, Ultimate Omega, which I assume you carry, it's concentrated to 60% oil in TG. Our Ultimate Omega 2X is an 80% concentrate. The difference lies, however, in how you manufacture a concentrate. We all bring it to this intermediary form where we use ethyl esters to cap the ends of these tails of fatty acids because they're volatile, they're not in the body, so they want to go off and become rancid. So that intermediary stage quiets them, secures them so we can concentrate the tail, the fatty acid tail, whether it be EPA or DHA. So as a manufacturer, I have a choice. I can stop there, grab my tails of EPA that are concentrated in DHA, all capped with ethyl esters, and bottle. Many manufacturers do this. It's also a less expensive process. Someone said to me the other day, okay, great. Well, why wouldn't I want that product? And the answer is because your enzyme that breaks down fats has no idea what that ethyl ester cap is. It's a synthetic, basically, and therefore it takes longer to break it off so those tails can go reform that triglyceride in the body and ship off to our cells. Bottom line, you absorb less. To me, you're wasting your money. More importantly, if you're absorbing less, you're not going to get the health benefits from the fish oil. So Nordic never provides concentrated products in the ethyl ester form. We take it to another step where we remove the ethyl ester caps with a food grade enzyme and we rebuild it into that triglyceride form so that any concentrated product is in the TG form up to 90%. So your body knows what to do with it. You absorb 70% more based on the research, and more goes to the cells to be available to do the work. So our marketing director of PAST, I once explained this to her, and she said, "That's really nice." She said, "I know, we make it like the body takes it." I'm like, "That's not fair." But that's the really short answer to the whole
No,
story.
you did great. That's perfect. I do want to know, is there a way for a customer or consumer of fish oils to go into a store, pick up a bottle, and tell which form that is? Is there a way to tell that?
Yes, if a manufacturer is going to the lengths, costs, and time that it takes to bring those concentrated oils back to that triglyceride form, they are going to put it on the label. For example, on our products, there's always a seal that says superior triglyceride form. But where it's tricky, on the ethyl ester products, that's usually not advertised. So it won't say anything. But you can assume that that is ethyl ester if somewhere on the label it's not saying in the TG form.
Another common thing I'm sure you get all the time is that people who take fish oils either have digestive issues with it or they're always burping it. What is that a sign
Uh-huh.
of, and how can they make that better?
Uh, I'm so glad you brought that up because this is something that people think they have to live with and deal with, and they don't. We can really help correct it. So there are varying types of individuals who experience this at different levels. Obviously, the aging population has diminished levels of enzyme capacity and capability. So to me, that is the area where I see this complaint most often. I'm not sure if you do.
Yes.
So, okay. So we recommend then that one, they could take lipase, the enzyme by itself, or take a multi-digestive enzyme that would have lipase in it, and that will enhance their ability to break the fat down more efficiently. A few other ways that people have had success is to take their fish oil with a meal that already has fat in it. Therefore, more of that lipase comes out to play. So not only is it breaking down your food, it helps to break down the fish oil. Some people find they do better with a liquid if they run into this issue. I don't see a benefit in liquid over caps. It should be a personal choice and what are you going to be most compliant with. But oftentimes it may be their inability to break down the gelatin cap, which is protein-based. Maybe they're light in protease, the enzyme that breaks that down. So people have to play around a little if they are feeling that discomfort, though, and a little repeat, not a fishy repeat, but that means you're not breaking your fats down well enough or most efficiently.
Great point. Great point. That helps. It is a digestive issue for a lot of people we see. I've even seen, like you said, some people even taking on an empty stomach. That sometimes can help people too. So it's something that
Ah,
each person probably needs to try and see which works best for them. But it is a fat, so taking it with a meal, I think, is one of the best ways to do it, or a digestive enzyme. So let's talk about
absolutely.
CoQ10. CoQ10's out there. I see
Yeah.
you're starting to add CoQ10 to some of your fish oil products. What are the heart
Yes.
health benefits of CoQ10?
Oh, okay. So CoQ10 is actually present in every cell of our body. We manufacture it on our own. However, it is most concentrated in the areas of the body or organs of the body that require really strong, great demands for energy. So we intentionally included in a few of our products that are geared toward heart health. The heart has tremendous demands for energy. So CoQ10 is involved in producing what we call our energy currency in the body, which is ATP. And this takes place within each cell, within the mitochondria. There are little cell workhorses to create energy. And I love to give this example because I think it illuminates the need for CoQ10 in the body. The heart muscle has this tremendous and continual demand and supply needs. If you look at one heart cell, it can have upwards of 3,000 to 4,000 mitochondria in one cell. And just to contrast that, like a skin cell doesn't have a whole lot of energy needs. It might have anywhere from 5 to 50 mitochondria. So you see this huge difference in the need to produce energy. If CoQ10 levels are low or deficient, then the heart cell's ability to create energy results in a deficit. And we find that the functioning of the heart and all of the intricacies of its electrical processes and energy production can become jeopardized. And condition states where you'll see this conversation more really relate to heart rhythm, arrhythmias. So supporting that constant need for energy in the heart muscle is a great place for CoQ10. The other strong area relates to the fact that it is one of the most prolific, strongest fat-soluble antioxidants in the body. And therefore, it can neutralize free radicals beautifully. And how it plays into the role with respect to heart health specifically is it protects the heart from oxidation of those little nasty LDL cholesterol particles, which we know increase an individual's risk for certain cardiovascular condition states such as coronary artery disease. So that, to me, with respect to heart health, are the two key areas it's involved in. Big areas.
It's big areas, exactly. So who should take CoQ10 and what doses should they be using? What's a good standard dose for most people?
Okay, so I'll address the who first, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Great candidates for CoQ10 supplementation are any adult over the age of 40. And that is because we naturally produce less over time. And age 40 is really that starting point where it just continues to go down from there. Sad story with many things related to our body's capabilities. So enhancing our ability to have more available via supplementation as we age is great. There's another category, however. The number one prescribed medication in the U.S. are statin meds that are intended to help an individual lower cholesterol levels. Well, statin meds, in addition to suppressing an enzyme that produces cholesterol, also that enzyme suppresses the production of CoQ10. Therefore, an individual can become highly deficient in CoQ10 when it's the sad story. They're trying to protect their heart, give the heart more health-promoting capabilities and benefits, and it's reducing their CoQ10 levels. I wish I could tell you that all cardiologists and internists recommend this. You probably are in the same boat.
They don't.
Yeah.
They sure don't.
They don't. So fortunately, it falls to us to let people know how important this is to take additional levels of CoQ10 when you're on a statin.
Exactly.
Maybe over time, the word will get out there. Yeah, an absolute must, especially for those that have those more common symptoms, the joint health issues and pain and discomfort.
Muscle cramps.
They tend to do exactly. Yeah.
The CoQ10 has really helped a lot of people with those type of symptoms or the side effects of statins. So that's why anybody taking a statin really must be taking CoQ10.
I totally agree with you. I mean, the research is there. It's all in front of us.
That's right.
And then there's one other candidate I consider a customer, and that's an athlete, someone who's continually putting high demands for energy use, replenishing of energy production, in addition to the fact that when there's this high aerobic continual output, there's a higher chance of oxidative stress in the body. So it also protects from damage caused by that. And then when we get to dose, unfortunately, the research does not give us a definitive answer, as with most research. However, if we collectively look at the positive outcomes in the research, that landed recommended dose tends to be 100 milligrams on a daily basis. And that is why you
100
likely see
milligrams
that.
or 1,000 milligrams?
100 is where
100
most of that
milligrams. Okay.
research lies.
Okay. Just make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
many of the
what we talk
formulas,
about
you'll
too.
see that dose.
That's right.
Do you?
That's right. But
Okay,
your
good.
Nordic Naturals has a fish oil with a CoQ10 in there, and I can't remember how much is in that particular product. What is it? 100?
Yes, our Ultimate Omega plus CoQ10 is 100, correct.
Yes. Yes.
And then we do have a standalone ubiquinol, which is also 100. And then we have a product called Omega LDL, specifically for someone hoping to reduce their cholesterol levels, that has 25 milligrams in it to support what might be going on with that natural red yeast rice, lessening cholesterol production.
Could I back you up for just a second? You said ubiquinol.
Yeah.
We're talking about CoQ10. Briefly describe the difference between the two to help people understand what did you just say?
Okay, I will definitely do that. Thank you. So there's two forms. There's ubiquinone and ubiquinol. For a young person who is still producing their own levels of CoQ10 quite efficiently, they may do just fine with ubiquinone. When ubiquinone enters the body, it needs to become active, converted into the ubiquinol form. So ubiquinol is that biologically active form of CoQ10. There is a big price difference between the two, which is why I often say, hey, if you're young, you can hang with the ubiquinone. But for an individual over the age of 40, who one isn't producing enough and oftentimes isn't converting well from ubiquinone to ubiquinol in their own bodies, you want to go with the big dog on that one, with the ubiquinol form. And also, if you have heart-related conditions, I would also recommend that. And if you're on the statin, I would always hang in that area.
That's great.
The younger athlete might do okay with ubiquinone.
So briefly describe, Nordic Naturals got some awesome products. We have a whole wall of Nordic Naturals here at our store. So talk about choosing certain fish oils. Go through some of your top sellers. What's some of the best things you see moving and helping people out with their issues?
Thank you. I'd love to discuss them. Our number one seller across the United States and actually across all natural product stores is Ultimate Omega. Why I find that that is our largest seller is it satisfies a lot of needs. Adults that are looking to take fish oil on a daily basis, they want to take a smaller amount of capsules, so it is concentrated. It has a little higher EPA, so the two fats, EPA and DHA. It's a bit higher in EPA to DHA, which is generally what the body somewhat requires in that adult aging category, unless we're talking really about brain, then we want to swap those. But Ultimate Omega is 1,000 milligrams in 2 caps. We also have an Ultimate Omega 2X that's 1,000 milligrams in 1 cap. That's our most concentrated. And this satisfies that need if you're doing just 1,000 milligrams a day or you're doing 3,000, a more therapeutic dose, you don't have to take a whole lot to do so. Another seller that isn't concentrated is our omega-3 product. Many people see this as kind of the kickoff starter. Maybe someone had a bad experience with fish oil, that dreaded fish burp smell, and they want to start out on the down low, not concentrated. That's a nice product, but because it's not concentrated, you can't get over 500 milligrams in 2 caps. But the liquid, if you happen to carry omega-3 liquid, that's 1,250 milligrams in 1 teaspoon. So liquids are always more efficient in terms of dose if someone's willing to take it. We sell a tremendous amount of gummies, which some are with fish oil and others are not. We have melatonin, we have curcumin, we have children's gummies, we have adult gummies. These are becoming quite popular, and I'll be honest with you, when I was in private practice, I was not a fan of gummies. I wanted people to, go hardcore, but it really satisfies the need for some individuals that will not do that. Many of ours are sweetened with xylitol, so we're trying to move away from the sugar levels. But I
Good.
think ours do as well as they do is we do our own manufacturing. We don't job it out. So besides really being able to tweak taste and texture, we're able to protect the active ingredients. We don't want it to be candy. It should be nutrients first
That's right.
and
That's
foremost.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
Our other big sellers are things like omega curcumin and omega memory. We have so many children's products
what's
that
your number
sell
one
quite well.
children's?
It is the DHA, Children's
Yeah.
DHA Original. We do have a 2X version of that, which is triple the dose of DHA. But we have a new contender in that category that I think is going to do really well, which is the DHA gummy. It has 3 times the DHA of the original. It packs a really nice dose,
Yep.
and it's really convenient. Throw it in your backpack, individually sealed.
Exactly.
But our
I
kids,
actually used
I'm
your
sorry, go
DHA.
ahead.
I used your DHA soft gels to teach my kids how to swallow pills. They were just a great size.
Did you really?
That's what's nice about it.
Ah,
They're small, or they can chew them up if they wanted to. You got that little bit of taste to them with strawberry or some of the things in it. But it's a great products.
right.
Nordic has done it
Oh,
right. That's for sure.
they have. I mean, I take no credit. I'm honored to work for this company because it's so easy to speak to it. You don't have
It
to
is.
concern
It,
yourself with integrity or quality ever.
we hear comments every day how it changed their lives. So I know it's a great quality company. It's one that you can always trust. And like you said, there's always plenty of research backing up what they're doing. And that's what I love about Nordic. It's always about the research.
Yeah, it is. That's the starting point always when we formulate.
Karla,
Absolutely.
you are a wealth of information. I really appreciate you being on today. But before I let you go, I got to ask a question.
Yes.
In your little bio
Yes.
you sent me, I always want to know something about you, and you put down a form of dancing that I had never heard of before called Nia. Is that how you
Ah,
pronounce it? NIA?
yeah. Yes.
Explain that to
NIA.
me a little bit. I'm very curious.
Sure. And I'm not surprised you haven't heard about it. Actually, it's been around for 30 years, but they're not
Wow.
tremendous marketers. So NIA came about 30 years ago as a way to incorporate dance arts, healing arts, and martial arts into a class. And it's intended to teach you to move naturally in your own body, even though it's choreographed. And for me, it is my absolute joy of life. It's my grounder, but it has all components. There's high energy, there's healing energy, cool down, warm up, but it's basically an hour of the joy of movement. And
Exactly.
there are classes all over the United States and Europe, actually, all throughout
It,
internationally.
it sounds
Um,
like it can really help someone out with stress.
Stress, for sure, balance,
Yeah, balance. So
agility.
many. Well,
Yeah,
I was
it has
very
so many
interested.
components.
It was so interesting reading about it in those forums. I just had to
Oh,
ask you.
cool.
So how long have you been doing that?
I think I've now been doing it for almost 18 years. I used to teach, but with all the travel now, I can't do that anymore. So I just play. It's
Well, thanks.
it's really a fabulous workout.
It is. And thanks for teaching me something new. Now I got to research more about
Oh
this Nia
yeah.
dancing. Very cool. Well, thanks again for being here today, Karla.
It's completely my pleasure, Bryan, and thank you so much for having me and for all of your support of the line and trust in the line. And I wish you guys well. Have a great
Thank you.
new year, right? We're close.
That's right. We sure are. That's going to do it for this episode of the Healthy Approach podcast. Be sure to check the show notes for a special offer for Nordic Naturals. And please subscribe if you like this podcast and help us spread the word by rating and sharing with your friends and family. If you'd like to learn more about what you can do for getting your fish oils, you can go to sunflowershoppe.com. That's shop with 2 P's and an E, or visit us at one of our 3 locations in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.